Hey, what's up, guys? It is May, and I am excited to talk about all the films that I watched in April last month. There was quite a few, especially a lot of Oscar nominated films, but I did find time to watch plenty of other movies as well, and a few TV series, which I will take the time to talk about today as well. So let's go ahead and review everything I watched last month. Alright, so the first one we have here is Venus Wars, which is a classic anime film from the 1980s. This is actually the second time that I've seen it. I rebought the film under the new Sentai Filmworks Blu-ray release, which was previously released by Discotek Media. And this new release has a new English dub, which is far superior to the old one in my opinion. And the overall picture, I think, is much better. I think, in general, I did enjoy this film a lot more the second time around. The funny thing was I wasn't actually anticipating anything different until after I watched the film I noticed the differences and I was like, oh, what the heck, this is almost a completely different movie now. So for those of you into classic 80s anime films or more obscure anime, definitely check this one out. Then we have Shiva Baby. I did a review for this film. This is a hilarious comedy, kind of all set in one location. I really liked the way this was delivered. And I think this is a film that I hope a lot of people will eventually watch. I haven't really heard anyone talk about it, but it is a good time and a really interesting situation that the directors put the characters in throughout this film. So definitely check that one out if you guys are looking for a fun comedy. Godzilla vs. Kong, of course. I finally got around to watching all the MonsterVerse films and went and saw this one in theaters with my friends, had a blast. Pretty much everything I wanted, Godzilla versus Kong, a couple of extra things here and there, and, some human characters that didn't really care for. But overall, plenty of fun. And if you haven't gone around to see this, if it's still in theaters, definitely give yourselves a chance to check it out. Even if you haven't watched the other films, it is a really fun time. And that's all I got to say. Last Blockbuster. So I am someone who still heavily supports physical media. I love renting films from an actual video store. There's not that many of them left, but I do enjoy doing that. And this film was very nostalgic for me because I used to go to a Blockbuster when they were everywhere. And I did really enjoy this documentary. I'm happy to see that there is one left in Bend, Oregon. I'm hoping to one day visit that. That would be really cool. Definitely check this one out if you guys are kind of interested in the history of what happened to Blockbuster, how they started, and, well, where things are now. And if you're not a real supporter of physical media, you don't buy Blu-rays or DVDs or 4K or rent them anymore, this might change your mind because I think there is a lot of value, especially as far as quality. You can't really go wrong with quality when you get the disc over the streaming. So that's all I got for you guys there. Greyhound. Okay, so this was a Apple TV Plus exclusive film starring Tom Hanks. I'll be honest, this one I really wasn't that into. I found myself getting pretty tired while watching it, but Tom Hanks is great in it. I think it's probably going to be better if I give it another chance, but definitely one to watch if you're a fan of Tom Hanks or just the history behind it as well. If you're a fan of historical films, that you can't go wrong with this one. Over the Moon. This was an Oscar-nominated animation, and I was really surprised. I liked this movie a lot more than I was expecting. This is on Netflix. I guess the only thing I wish there was maybe less songs, and I wish it was grounded a little bit more in the reality. I wasn't as big of a fan of the fantasy element. For some reason, I'm not sure. Even though I love a lot of Chinese mythology, just for this type of movie, I really appreciate the familial drama, and I want to see a little bit more of that. But definitely check it out. If you've been on the fence, it's a fun one. I definitely recommend it. Colectiv. This was a favorite for a documentary feature this year, as well as possible Best International Film. This is a very good documentary, but it's very straightforward. If you're someone who likes watching documentaries with a lot of cinematic appeal, kind of the way a lot of documentaries are being done these days, this is not that type of film. This is definitely a really just grounded film set in a specific situation that happened and these journalists uncovering all of these crazy things that went on um, during this for these burn victims. That it's definitely can be tough to watch at times, but if you like documentaries, this is a really good one. Just for what was actually able to be done, this was definitely a film worth seeing. WandaVision. I finally got around to watching WandaVision. I did enjoy this series a lot. I guess I just put it off for a while, but I really like the setup. I like seeing both Wanda and Vision back together, and I love the way it changes from episode to episode. As far as what era they do things in, I love the homage to classic television, and but I guess the only thing I had a hard time with was just maybe the ending. I think it seemed like it was getting better and better every single episode, but the finale fell a little flat for me. It was too much fighting that wasn't that compelling, and then I do feel that the way things happened with Wanda could have been done a little differently. I don't want to say too much, as far as I don't want to spoil anything, but definitely a good series. I still haven't seen The Falcon and the Winter Soldier yet, so I need to get on that. The 2021 Oscar-nominated short films for animation. These shorts were pretty good. There was maybe 2 or 3 that were a little bit out there, and I wasn't a big fan of, but I really enjoyed the front runners, the heavy hitters. I liked seeing Pixar's Burrow quite a bit, and I absolutely loved the one that won the award, If Anything Happens, I Love You. And then there was a really fun one from Iceland. And I got to see this in theaters, which was fun. Of all the shorts, these were the only ones I saw in theaters. It's kind of a tradition I do pretty much every year for the past 5 years or so. So yeah, if you haven't checked this out, they should all be available online for free, either on some streaming platform or on YouTube. So definitely check them out if you guys haven't. Shin Godzilla. Alright, so as I mentioned, I've been kind of getting into more Godzilla, and this was one that I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did, but once I realized that, I want to say Hideki Anno was involved, who worked on Neon Genesis Evangelion, I thought it was really cool, especially the fact that there's a lot of the same music in that show in this, and the way they cut scenes and things like that, so that was a lot of fun. After having seen Godzilla vs. Kong, the CGI difference in quality was a little bit jarring, but it's an older film and it was fun. Definitely check it out if you're into Godzilla and seeing different stories of that mythology that has been done in the past. Oh, Shameless, one of my favorite TV series of all time, finally came to an end, and unfortunately it didn't end quite so well. But I think it was time. I love this show. Even if it got worse as things went on without the lead actress Emmy Rossum as Fiona, I adore this show. I highly recommend everyone watch it. The first 4 seasons are absolute gold. From there, it steadily drops off in quality, but it still, to me, is enjoyable throughout. But those first 4 seasons, man, were just great. Excellent. So, one of my favorite series of all time. Definitely watch Shameless if you haven't checked it out. Alright guys, yes, I finally watched Cars for the first time, I know. And honestly, I wasn't, it was kind of exactly what I was expecting. I guess I never had a big interest in seeing this film, and it was fun, but I don't think it's my favorite, anywhere near my favorite Pixar movies. I haven't checked out the second or the third one yet. I don't know if they're necessarily any better, but yeah, I don't know. I think maybe if I had seen it when it came out, I probably would have been amazed by it. I think the animation itself is a bit dated now, but yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I'm just gonna go with that. The One and Only Ivan. This was a very surprising film for me. I really enjoyed the story, about this gorilla in a I guess talent show or sideshow. And I like the cast. I like seeing Bryan Cranston. He's always great. But I also thought that it was nominated for Best Visual Effects, and they were great. I like seeing all the different animals that Ivan gets to talk to, and all the voices were done well. The people they picked, like for example, Danny DeVito is in the film. They had great voice cast, And yeah, this is a fun movie. If you guys want to check it out, that's on Disney Plus. It's a lot better than I was expecting. Pinocchio, another film that was better than I was expecting. This is the new retelling of Pinocchio from Italy, and it has Roberto Benigni as Geppetto. And this one has very interesting and I would say good visual effects. Some people might be turned off by them. It is definitely the darkest telling of Pinocchio that I've seen, but I've only ever seen the Disney film, so that's not saying much. But definitely enjoyed this. There were some parts that were a little slow for me. I do think they could have cut it down at least 15 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes, but it sounded like they wanted to keep a lot of the original story in there. But yeah, definitely one that I would recommend if you guys are on the fence. It might take a little while to get used to the visuals, but if you're a fan of Roberto Benigni, you know, his role as the kind of the father figure for Pinocchio. It reminded me so much of his film La Vita è Bella or Life is Beautiful. Just that dynamic, it just brought me right back to that, and he's just great. I want to see him in more stuff out there, so definitely recommend it. Quo Vadis Aida. This is another international film nominee at the Oscars. This was a very interesting film. I enjoyed this a lot. I like that it puts us in the perspective of this translator during this war, and Aida is a very fascinating character, and she's trying to protect her sons and her husband because she's suspicious of what's going to happen to them. She thinks that they might be killed, and she's trying to protect them while trying to do her job and translate for one side of the army and then deal with what's going on from the other side. So this was a very interesting film. I would definitely recommend seeing it. I rented it on Apple TV, but you can pretty much rent it anywhere. Crip Camp. This was a Netflix documentary. Very interesting film about the disability revolution. I really like seeing all these people that I've never heard of that have gone on to really create great change for disabled people. And it was really interesting hearing from their perspective and finding out all about how this began and where it went and what it is today. And something I feel should have been told and done a long time ago. I'm really surprised that it took this long, but definitely a documentary that I would recommend everybody check out. Oh, the Mighty Ducks. So I've been watching the Mighty Ducks Game Changers and had to finally rewatch the trilogy. So I'm not sure if I watched the entire trilogy in April, but I definitely watched a few of them. The first Mighty Ducks, I was never my favorite for some reason. I always liked the second one the most, but I actually like it more now that I'm older. I think I understand a little bit more of Emilio Estevez's character, Gordon Bombay. I guess his role in the film, I think I relate to him a little bit more now that I'm an adult, and some of the drama that was in the film as a kid never appealed to me, but I think now it does. So yeah, definitely classic. You gotta love the characters. There's even better characters as the series goes on, but you can't go wrong with the original. It was definitely a fun 90s film and it still holds up. Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. This film was hilarious and very different and silly for a comedy. Like, there aren't a lot that are really done in this way, and I really enjoyed it. Kristen Wiig and the other actress were both fantastic in it. I definitely enjoyed it more than I was expecting, even though it definitely goes off the rails. But this is a fun one that, if given the chance to see it again, I would love to watch it with, like my girlfriend or someone else, just to see. I need to get some reactions and watch this with other people. I think this is one that when you watch it alone, you're just going to be left going, what did I just watch? But it's definitely a fun time. I would recommend it if you haven't seen it. Everest. So this is based on the true story of these mountain climbers who unfortunately passed, and there were survivors too. But this is definitely a tough film that I took quite a while to see myself. It's visually a great film. I think it was a really good film to tell because of just learning about people that want to climb Everest and why it's so important to them and how they actually did it and do it is very fascinating. But yeah, definitely a tough film as far as the outcome, since it's based off a real situation where people did die. It's a tough one, but I would recommend it if you're interested in learning more about what happened. The 2021 Oscar-nominated short films documentaries. So these documentaries, they were all really good, but I will say most of them were pretty heavy. There was some I could barely get through because they were so hard to watch. Like some of the hardest things I've ever had to see on screen. No kidding. But there was a lot of good ones, and at least one that was on the lighter side, one or two. But yeah, I would check these out if you guys haven't. These are all available online for free. Yeah. And then the 2021 Oscar-nominated short films for live action. You know, I've never seen both the docs and the live actions. I've always just seen the animated shorts, but I'm so glad I watched all of them this year. The live action shorts were so good. They were, I could go back, I think, and pretty much watch any of them again because I really liked them. They were all just really fascinating, really timely, a lot of good social themes, but also just surprising. And I don't know, I guess I really need to get with the times and check these out because I definitely want to continue to watch them every year. Highly recommend them. Again, all online for free if you guys are interested in watching those. The Man Who Sold His Skin. Okay, so this was, I think, the last international film nominee that I needed to watch this year, and it was definitely a lot better than I was expecting. I think for some reason, it was the one that took the longest to come to the U.S. to rent or buy, and I don't know, just the title itself had me worried. I was like, well, what's going on here? But it's really interesting about a man who has this tattoo that really speaks to the times and is, you know, he's working for this famous artist purveyor guy, and he essentially does sell his skin to be a piece of art, and really fascinating because he's also trying to reconnect with his girlfriend or his wife, and he's trying to find out how they can live together. And so there's some interesting things at play throughout the film. One I would definitely recommend. I really like the ending. I don't want to say anything, but one that I would definitely check out again and recommend. The Father. All right, talk about a tough to watch film, but an excellent film. You know, say what you want. I think Chadwick Boseman, if he had not passed away, I think you know, there wouldn't be so much controversy as far as who should have won Best Actor, but I just think Anthony Hopkins was phenomenal in this role. I think he absolutely deserved the award, and I loved every actor nominee this year. They were all well deserving, but he, to me, truly deserved it. He was amazing, and just, yeah, he transformed himself to put on this role as someone with Alzheimer's. And Olivia Colman was great too. This is definitely a movie that, like, you got to be mentally prepared to see it because it's gonna hit you hard. But it's really fascinating the way it's told, the way it's shot. It makes you think throughout the whole movie and keeps you on your toes. It's kind of a thriller in a way. So I would highly recommend seeing The Father. Just be prepared to maybe be a little bit down afterwards because it definitely is a tough movie to watch. Mortal Kombat. So, of course, I went and saw the new Mortal Kombat film. I have a lot of nostalgia for the original movie and sort of for the second one. Not so much there, but I was really looking forward to this. It did not disappoint. It pretty much gave me everything I wanted. Say what you want about some of the things, the acting, some of the story, but it was a fun time. It was, you know, I appreciated everything they went for. I liked the fight scenes. I thought it had a great cast, and it was definitely hilarious. There was some great comedy throughout, and I'm really looking forward to a sequel. I think they've got something good going, and I think they can do even better. I think this is not the best we've seen for Mortal Kombat. There's definitely even more that we can see. That I think they're gonna make an even better film next time. Drive. All right, I finally saw Drive. I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was fantastic. I loved the way it was shot. Ryan Gosling was fantastic. Bryan Cranston. Who else we got? Carey Mulligan, Oscar Isaac, even Ron Perlman. We had so many good people in this, and the story was really interesting. I love that it almost feels like a film noir. great music. It's just a movie that I was not expecting to like this much, and I really want everyone to see it, whoever hasn't seen it. So definitely check out Drive if you haven't. D2, The Mighty Ducks. Like I said, The Mighty Ducks. The second one I think is still my favorite. Just I feel like it has the most straightforward, fun, perfect story. The characters are like this one has the best combination of all the characters I think of the three films. I just really enjoy so much about this movie. I think it's got some of the best pacing. I think maybe the best pacing of all three films. And yeah, it introduces so many people that I like, and there's so many moments I remember from this film distinctively that as a kid were such a big deal whenever I'd watch it. So gotta love The Mighty Ducks, guys. The Nice Guys. All right, here's a film another film with Ryan Gosling that I should have seen a while ago that I finally saw and I loved. It was hilarious, like great writing, great comedy, unexpected, just tons of fun, and a movie that I really think a lot more people need to see. For those of you who haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I don't really want to tell you much about it because it's one of those movies that you kind of just got to go in and go with it and just see it. It's kind of a good movie to go in blind with, so that's all I will say. And then lastly, for the month of April, so you got a little preview there for May, but we're ending with April. The Mitchells versus the Machines. Guys, this movie I think is a heavy contender for next year's Best Animated Feature. It's from Sony Pictures Animation, the same people who worked on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and has a similar animation style to that. This film was tons of fun. Great animation, interesting story, dealing with social times and people on their phones all the time and how that affects us. Has a lot to say and great characters. It's kind of a chaotic film in a way, but it's told with such great pacing and energy that you just can't take your eyes off the screen. It's tons of fun, and at this moment, I'm hoping it could possibly win Best Anime Feature. I mean, there might be another film that comes out that I like even more, but as of right now, I'd be perfectly happy with this one because I think it deserves it. I think we're going to see a Pixar upset next year, and yes, that's all I got, you guys. That is all the movies I watched in April. Alright guys, so there you have it. That's everything I watched. I'd love to hear what you guys watched in April as well, and if there's any films that we want to talk about that you saw on my list that you think are interesting or that you've seen before, let's chat about them in the comments. As always, my name is Dylan, and if you love entertainment, subscribe to my channel while this video ends and send me a thumbs up before you go. Thanks for watching, and stay